Hello and welcome to another episode of Shit Gets Fixed. I'm standing outside my local hot yoga dealership to get things started this time. And now you're asking, well, why? Well, let's go inside and we'll talk more about it. If you've ever taken a hot yoga class, you would know you do yoga like that in a room like this, with the temperature approaching that of 1,000 burning suns. Robin, how hot is it in here right now?
It's 100 degrees, Tim.
Oh, it sure is. And this is the time when some people might say it's hotter than Hades in here. You see, Hades refers to the Greek underworld, a place of eternal fire. And that's hot, right? And that's why we call it a metaphor, because we're comparing that hot to this hot. But I don't say it's hotter than Hades. I say it's hotter than the 80's, because the 80's were hot. We had TV shows like The A-Team and Knight Rider. And best of all, Magnum P.I. I mean, come on, he drove a Ferrari 308 GTS. That's hot.
Don't forget about his mustache.
Yes, and his mustache. And if that wasn't hot enough, we also had this.
This is a picture of me circa 1988. And there's only one word that fully describes this hair luscious spectacle: hot. And this is a picture of a 1981 Volkswagen Scirocco S, also hot. And this is my friend Will and his dog Earl. Will is doing a ground-up restoration on his own 1981 Volkswagen Scirocco S, and he needs our help.
Hello and welcome back to the shop. And this is a perfect time to remind you that we use your likes, subscribes, and eyeball times to offset the financial burden of cancer. You can find out more information at the nonprofit website shitgetsfixed.org. Alrighty, let's get on with the business at hand. This is one of the new wheels for Will's restoration project, and these are BBS wheels. BBS is a maker of fancy aftermarket wheels, and these are two-piece wheels. This is the wheel face, and this is the barrel or rim. You can kind of see how the two bolt together here. So the problem is the wheel center bore is too small to fit the Scirocco's rotor hub assembly. This part does not fit in this part. What is a rotor hub assembly? Well, when you're changing out the flat tire in your car because you picked up a roofing nail, and oddly enough, the neighbor down the street is getting his roof replaced, so the part you're trying to install that space saver spare tire onto, yeah, that part is the rotor hub assembly. Anyway, I've determined all we need to do is remove this lipped section of the casting of the wheel face, and the rotor hub assembly should fit right in. I should mention that these wheels do not center themselves on the protuberance of the rotor hub assembly. Rather, they center themselves on the taper of the lug bolts. And yes, it's lug bolts, not lug nuts on the 81 Scirocco. So this does not need to be a tight tolerance fit. In fact, a little bit of free play here is better in this case. And since this part is way too big for my lathe, let's head over to the vertical subtractive manufacturing department and see what we can come up with. We have one of the wheel faces bolted down to the fixture plate of our milling machine. We have it positioned with these two locating pins. So once we complete the work on this one, we can simply remove it, install the next one, and repeat as needed. Now, to machine the center hole large enough to fit our rotor hub assembly, we first need to find the center of this hole in the wheel face. Align it or make it concentric with the spindle of our milling machine. We have several ways we can do this. Let's head over to the metrology department and take a look at some options. First is this. This is a coaxial indicator. Coaxial indicators usually come in a kit with the different styles and lengths of probes and such. And this one even came with a teensy little wrench. And second, we have this. This is an edge finder. And this is all you get with the edge finder, is the edge finder. And lastly, we have this. This is a 3D sensor. Let's give each of these a test drive and see what they do and how they do it.
I've installed the coaxial indicator in the mill. You can see the basic setup here. The center or inner body of the tool rotates, and we drive it at a very slow RPM. And the outer body is held stationary with this arm here. As the center rotates, it also drives this feeler or probe. This is how the probe reacts with the indicator. The further we move the probe, the larger the deviation we see in the reading. And because the bore is not centered or concentric with the spindle of our milling machine, we see a large fluctuation of the needle because the probe is being moved further in one area of the bore rather than the other. As we move the bed of the milling machine with our turning handles and get closer to concentricity, the fluctuation becomes less aggressive on the indicator and soon becomes consistent. Once we have a consistent reading on our indicator, we have found the center of our bore. Now, you can still see a slight movement in the indicator. This is because the surface we are moving our probe around on is a non-machined surface. It's just a rough casting, so we can expect some inconsistencies.
The coaxial indicator is pretty gnarly, right? And up next, we have the edge finder. And taking a closer look, we have the main body and the business end. And the two parts are held together with an internal spring. And the business end moves around like this. Simple enough, so let's see how it works.
Okay, so I've installed the edge finder in the mill. And in combination with the edge finder, I'm going to use the DRO, or digital readout. The DRO uses scales. Think of them as electronic measuring tapes that are installed on the milling machine to determine where the milling machine parts are in space. And as we move the turning handles on our milling machine, we can see this movement or spatial relationship change on the DRO. Okay, now back to the edge finder. The edge finder works like this. As we approach the edge of our bore and we're spinning the edge finder at 600 to 700 RPM, we are looking for this interaction to occur. Let me show you that one more time. I think they call this kick out. As we slowly move our turning handles and get closer to the edge, the moment we see this interaction or kick out occur, we have found our edge. And by finding the edge of our bore in a cross pattern and letting the DRO do some math for us, we now know where the center of our bore is.
Last but not least, and definitely not the least expensive, we have the totally bodacious 3D sensor.
The 3D sensor works in X, Y, and Z. And unlike the coaxial indicator and the edge finder, we do not put the 3D sensor under drive, ever. So this is how it works. As we slowly approach our edge by moving our turning handles, we will know when we have found the edge when the indicator reads 0. Let me show you that one more time. So, same as the edge finder, we find the edge of our bore in a cross pattern and let the DRO do some math for us, and we now know the center of our bore.
And now that we know how to find the center of our bore, we should put on our favorite pair of Bugle Boy parachute pants. Head over to the food court at the local mall and grab a slice of Zauber at Sbarro, because it's time for a hot 80s machining montage! Success! Looks like the rotor hub assemblies fit nicely in our wheel faces. And again, it is worth mentioning that these wheels are lug-centric, not hub-centric. So they center themselves on the lug bolts, not the hub center. And I used what's called a boring bar to do the machining work. Definitely a good topic of discussion for a future episode. Well, I'm going to get these wheels back to my friend Will so he can get on with his hot 80s car restoration project. I guess for us that means job done. When I first started working on this episode, I would cringe every time I looked at that picture of me from the 80s. But as some time passed and the waft of the Aquanet Superhold hairspray diminished, I became completely comfortable with it. You see, the thing is, I realized that every decision that I've made, even to have a haircut like that, has brought me to this place and this point in my life. Some people might think that I didn't make those decisions, that it's divine intervention. And whether it be religious or secular, I'm okay with that idea. So those decisions I made, or that were made for me by someone or something, brought me to this point in my life. To be able to work on so many amazing projects, and to have equipment like this, and to be able to use them to some degree of proficiency. And to be able to come to a beautiful place like this and work every single day. So I'm grateful to my younger self for making those decisions, or having those decisions made for me, good or bad. And I wouldn't change a single thing, not even getting the cancer part, because cancer made me a better person. Cancer gave me the opportunity to truly see how lovely life is. And I get so much pleasure telling cancer to go f itself on a daily basis. So if the younger me could see me now, I hope he would be proud of what I've become. It's really crazy to think about. Anyway, I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next time.